In this video, I cover many situations where one or more balls are in the jaws of a pocket. Be sure to watch to the end to see all the interesting cases and shots I will cover. Let's start by reviewing some important rules related to some of these shots, starting with an excerpt from my recent video dealing with the new WPA official rules of pool. There are several rule clarifications concerning balls settling at the end of a shot. If a ball comes to rest close to the edge of a pocket, you must wait 5 seconds before shooting the next shot. If the ball falls during these 5 seconds, it is considered pocketed. If the ball falls after the 5 seconds, it must be replaced as close as possible to the original location. Another ball settling issue that can come up is balls supported by other balls in a pocket opening. The rules now clearly state that if a ball is supported beyond the edge of a pocket, where it would fall into the pocket if supporting balls were removed, the ball should be pocketed. Also, when balls settle during a shot, they are left where they settle unless they affect the outcome of the shot. For example, here, shooting away from the frozen 13, if the 13 moves during the shot, it is not a foul, and the 13 remains in the settled position. Sometimes during play, the cue ball will jam in the jaws of a pocket with an object ball like this. If I carefully remove the cue ball, you can see that the 13 is not hanging over the edge of the pocket since it doesn't drop, so these balls are in valid positions. Let's assume we are playing 8 balls shooting solids. To not foul, you need to shoot out of the pocket without hitting into the 13. By hitting into and compressing the facing a little, the cue ball easily clears. If the balls are really jammed in the pocket, the object ball will sometimes move when the cue ball clears, since the cue ball was wedging the 13 against the facing before the shot. When the wedging pressure is released, the 13 moves. This is a legal shot since the cue ball is shot away from the 13 and clears the 13 before the 13 rocks back. And if the balls are jammed deep in the pocket with the 13 close to the rim of the pocket opening, the 13 might even drop after the cue ball clears. This is a legal shot, and per the rules, any ball that falls due to settling during a shot is replaced as closely as possible to the original position. An interesting alternative approach suggested to me by Michael McMinn is an intentional foul. By lightly hitting the cue ball into the facing in 13, shooting solids, that would give the opponent ball in hand. If the opponent is smart, he will ask you, a ref, or a neutral party to pick up the cue ball for him before taking ball in hand. It is standard practice for the ref or the fouling player to hand the opponent the cue ball after a foul. But if this is not done and the opponent is not careful moving the cue ball, he could foul by moving the 13 with the cue ball. You are not allowed to touch or move an object ball when you have ball in hand. This would be a foul, giving ball in hand back to you. Tricky, isn't it? But if your opponent is instead careful to compress the facing before removing the cue ball, there would be no foul and your opponent could place the cue ball wherever they want on the table. Even if the 13 settles or even drops as the cue ball is removed cleanly, it would still not be a foul. Remember, any ball that falls into a pocket when settling like this is replaced as closely as possible to its original position. Here's an example game situation, again shooting solids. If you know to shoot into the facing with fast speed, you can escape without a foul. And here, you still have a great chance to win this game, with the 9 and 11 in trouble, but with the 8 having a pocket. In this slightly different situation instead, you actually have a good offensive move. Hitting into the facing just a little allows you to escape the 13 while also pocketing the 1 in the side. Here is another interesting game situation where I'm shooting at the 8 for the win, but the cue ball and 8 are jammed in the jaws of the pocket. A game-winning option here is to use side spin to throw the ball in like this. That was a legal shot shooting into the frozen 8. However, a push shot like this would not be legal. Did you see how I touched the tip to the cue ball first and then just pushed through? A push shot like this is easy, but it is not legal. The safest way to pocket this ball with no risk of being accused of a push or double hit is to just use a large cut angle with lots of left spin like this. Now let's look at when an object ball is hanging in the jaws of a pocket. Well, if this object ball is one of yours, this is a great thing. But if the object ball belongs to your opponent, often it can be a liability. Here's an excerpt from my Everything You Need to Know About Hangers video that covers some good strategies. When the object ball is far enough from the blocker and the shot is straight, it is easy to follow the blocker into the pocket simply by rolling the object ball. When there is a small gap between the balls, a good approach is to herd the ball in with follow like this. Did you see the action of the shot? When the balls are frozen, the best approach is to use medium fast speed with backspin. The 8 gets pushed forward with the help of the transferred topspin. Did you see the 8 ball move and roll forward immediately? Here, the blocker can be cleared with a carom shot. It helps if you know how to use the 30-degree rule peace sign to visualize the natural angle. See the link in the video description for more information. I plan to go rail first to avoid a possible scratch. That's the way you want to finish games like this. Here, a kiss shot can be used to clear the blocker, sending the 3 off the 5 to hit the 13. I aim just like earlier, visualizing the desired line and the required hit, and then I use stun to create the tangent line motion. Creative outs like this make our lives much easier. Now let's look at how to deal with the cue ball being in the jaws of the pocket, where a facing or a point of the pocket blocks access to a desired target. Sometimes we create the situation on purpose, for example with a safety shot like this. I am shooting stripes, but I call a safety so my opponent is forced to shoot next from a corner-hooked position. One option for my opponent is a 3-rail masse kick. That was a good effort, but this shot is very difficult. With ball in hand, I can easily get the breakout and clearance for the win. A better option here for most people is a 1-rail kick. The natural angle is blocked, but I can use running spin to lengthen the angle. Unfortunately, even with a hit, there is a chance to scratch or leave a look at my stripes. When other options are blocked, sometimes the only option might be kicking off the pocket facing like this. If instead I am shooting at the 8, but my opponent has me corner hooked on the other facing, I have other options available. A long 1-rail kick off the head rail is a good choice, especially if you know the 2-to-1 system and are good at striking the cue ball with no side spin whatsoever. FYI, systems I used in this video are described and demonstrated in detail at the links below in the video description or pinned comment. If that path is blocked, you could instead shoot a 3-rail kick, especially if you know the corner 5 or magic spot systems. And if that path is blocked, you could kick off the pocket facing like this. A masse shot is another option. And if all those paths are blocked, you could do a jump kick, which I forgot to film. Or if you really wanted to impress the ladies, or whoever else you like to impress, you could do a jump with side spin off 3 rails. Or kick 1 rail off the facing edge. Or kick off the facing edge and ride the rail. Or even kick off the pocket point and go off 3 rails. Here's another interesting situation, corner hooked shooting at the 8. The following excerpt from my cushion and point compression video shows how to escape this trap. In this example, I am corner hooked. If I try to shoot directly at the 8, the point deflects the cue ball. I could hit a swerve shot to curve around the point. But if that and other options are blocked, my only option is to compress the point a little with faster speed, like this. To show you that I don't always make my shots on the first attempt while filming these videos, here are my previous attempts where the pool gods were obviously against me. Whoa! Holy crap! As always, see the links below in the video description or pinned comment for more information and examples. And good luck with your game from Dr. Dave.